Hey, Bill,
Second time around?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
do you have one? No, it's the one from tonight. Did you get one?
Sometimes you have to help them,
It changed a little?
remind them.
Okay.
All right, now we're good. This is the
35,
last
he may be a
person.
doctor, but he needs to get some
So Carrie can have that one.
thought processes in. What happens
good to
with
go?
the 2 water bottles? Are you that thirsty, or do you have something special?
Turn your mics on, turn your phones off. That'll be my new opening statement. Put your mask on.
It's to protect you guys.
I know. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Doesn't sound. That's good. If I fall asleep, wake me up.
Okay. We'll let you all off the chair.
Thank you. Greatly appreciate it.
She's coming.
And the other one?
Oh, I
Nobody knows?
can check on YouTube. I haven't got,
Just ask.
I haven't got an alert. Usually I get one.
Are we awake? Is it up and running?
Let's see.
I think they're working on it.
No, I don't see it.
We ordered a new gas stove
Yep.
3.5 weeks ago. Last week it had stolen in shipping, right? So Alan got a text today from the company that said it's at your house, so they must have like really busted their butts to notice this. It got stolen in Chicago.
Didn't, oh, well, that's
I even double checked, I was like,
Yes,
did
it's
I get
do
not
something?
really a surprise.
Is the switch burned out? What's going on here?
But it was amazing. It took 3 weeks for the first one, and this
I
one
didn't
took.
bring any tools to troubleshoot
There's only
that.
one choice.
Obviously, they
yeah.
You
Well,
go
that's
back
good
over
that
there
they
got
got
and
that
financial
on
it
news
it.
blows
about
your
that.
past
Alan
the
has to
room.
put it together tonight. That'll make him happy.
The NDS 34 goes to NDS 31. I can just flip scales, I can always grab it. You can see if it's on the scales.
Okay, yeah, I don't know what that, I don't know what that stuff is. I don't see it on my feed.
I'm glad she printed this out, because I
It's on the bottom here.
Yeah, I know that's immediately up there, but
It's either upstairs.
Does it
wasn't
connect
in
to the,
desk, so it must be
the
hidden
feed, the
somewhere
stream?
upstairs.
YouTube.
Oh, well.
And just keep shoving stuff in. Might not be
It's amazing how much space you have cleared when this is all done.
Hmm.
I keep collecting binders, but a lot of stuff goes bye-bye.
Well, that has last year's stuff too, so I have.
I used
Board of
to do
Selectmen
that.
from last
Still,
time.
then I
I
just,
figure it was my
We
first
would be
year,
on
so
top and it
I
would say
can
live
compare or reference
at
or
the bottom of the feed.
if I need to.
Bless
you.
Thank
you.
Go ahead, I'll put that on this. You're on upstairs. I can always grab the video. Yeah, tomorrow.
Okay. All right, so, we'll call the meeting to order. It's, 6:06. Welcome to the Ware Finance Committee meeting for Tuesday, January 28th, 2025. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Straight to the shop.
So on the agenda tonight is,
Up already in the first.
we have to finish the town warrant, and we have some, we had some, tie votes, or we had a tie vote on the school and and one or two tie votes on the town warrant articles that we had done. We worked our way up to, Article 11, we finished 11. However, there were a couple, maybe one change in the articles that we had already reviewed and voted on. Naomi, up to 11, was it just number 7? Oh, I'm sorry, 2 and 7, sorry, 2. 2 was the fire truck. And we voted on that one. The difference was DRA wouldn't let the town put, the future payments in the article. We could only put the payment for this cycle, the 900,000 down payment. So, those weren't guaranteed anyway. We didn't know exactly what the amounts were, but they'd have to put an article in next year for next year's lease payment when we figure out the lease agreement and the interest rate and all that. There's no number right now. Not only is it a future number, it's an unknown number. There's always a possibility that the town could pay off the balance next year and put an article together for that a year from now, and if the money's available. Or we would have to enter into a multi-year, up to 3-year lease agreement. But if we do 3 years, they would have to have an article every year to encumber that money. That's kind of the big difference. Naomi, anything wrong with that? Yes, sir?
What happens if that article to pay the next year's lease payment fails?
That we can't proceed, I imagine. And Naomi, you said that they're gonna have an escape clause? We have to anyways. Is that part of this article, or is that,
Yeah, it says it right here.
okay, that's the statement.
Right.
So, the money, I guess, the money actually doesn't go anywhere until we actually get a truck. So at that point, we would not go that far, so the money wouldn't be spent.
Got it.
This is just an approval to use that money when the time comes. But we'd have to
Then there'd
accumulate
probably
those
be
approvals.
a cancellation fee that we'd be
Yep.
looking at that point, I'm sure, right?
I think it depends on when they actually would put the order in, yeah. If they put it in before next year, I don't know if there's a cancellation fee or not. I don't know that, to be honest.
Is what it is, right?
Any knowledge on that, Naomi? Have you heard about?
This just gives you the okay to go out to bid. Utility won't let people bid on it.
Right. So if the bid comes in,
Once the bid comes in at $900,000.
it comes in, yeah, if it comes in less than what we have in the account that we can spend, there would be an article to pay off the balance in 1 year, theoretically, right? This is all hyperbole, you know. And we would get an article put to us for the balance. If it's 1.25 million, then there could be a second year or a third year. And it could fall apart in a year. But, I think the other thing that came up was that if we don't make the payment for a year, it takes what, a year and a half roughly for the truck to actually come in. We will have had another year of fees going into that fund, and it was around $290 or something like that per year.
And maybe even some interest on the 900,000.
Right, because it's sitting there.
Yeah.
So, if the bid comes in lower and we have the money, they could pay it off in one payment after the 900. Again, we don't know. The bid could, if it comes in above 1.25, we can't accept that bid, because that's the limit. Either way, it would have to fit into a 3-year or less lease. It would be one extra payment beyond this. So we voted 7-1-0. The article's changed. If the committee wants to take another vote on this, we can vote on taking another vote.
I move that we reconsider our action on Article 2.
Okay, Neil moved. Anybody want to second that? I'll second it.
And if this passes, the only thing we're doing is going back to the article. This is not to
This is
vote on the article, it's to vote to go back.
vote to
discuss it.
reconsider.
Sure.
Reconsider. Good. Any questions? All those in favor, oh, you have something?
No, I'm waiting.
Okay, all those in favor of reconsidering Article 2, raise your hand. It's, what do we got? 7 to 2. Okay. So the motion carries to reconsider. I'll make a motion that we that the committee recommends Article 2, the leasing agreement and purchase for the fire truck.
Second.
Lori, second. Discussion? Anybody have any dramatic changes of thought?
No.
Yeah, I think, like I said earlier, I think the other years were unknown amounts, but we assumed that this was giving the town the authority to go all 3 years, and now that's not the case. So, but the escape clause, I think, mitigates the risk without losing any money, in theory. Can they can go out to bid and take quotes and offer, accept a bid with this. They don't need the next year approval to do that, right? Okay, they don't have to wait.
You also know how much you're gonna borrow.
Right. Yeah, you could, if it ended up being multiple years, we would have a lease agreement, we would know the amounts for the 3 years. We just couldn't approve them all at once. Is that clear to everybody? Any other comments, questions?
Second?
Oh, you good? Did we get a second? Yep.
That's what I was doing, second.
Okay. All right, all those in favor of recommending Article 2 on the warrant, raise your hand. Okay. 7-1. Any, yep. Oh, sorry, 8-1. No? Yep. Any abstain? 8-1, sorry. So it effectively didn't change our position.
Article 7 is not only just adding to
Say again?
Article 7 is just saying.
Okay. Yeah. Number 7, right, Naomi said that, what was added was after 2022, the for the purpose statement was added, and the 2/3 vote required was added. And this is to change a fund, I guess 2/3 vote is required for that purpose. So Article 7, Revenue Fund. I don't have these in order, unfortunately.
6-2. 4.
260, right, we did not recommend,
Right.
right, 2-4-6 against. And one person wasn't here, I think that was Mike, were you the one? No, John wasn't here, John. Alright. So, is there anybody wanna make a motion to reconsider our vote on Article number 7? Okay, so I guess we leave it as is. It was 2 against, so we voted to not recommend Article 7, and we will stay that way. Yeah. I guess before we go forward, I'll ask now, I suppose, does anybody need to make any motions to reconsider any of the articles that we've already voted on?
For the town.
For the town?
Yeah, should
A
we
little early for that
finish?
sound, because we haven't finished our business, we
Okay.
don't know what the total tax rate is.
Gotcha. Right.
You have a 4-4 vote.
We did have a 4-4.
To consider it.
Article 5, for the park stipend, we had a tie. Right. So we can, if nobody makes a motion, we'll continue.
We can,
Yes,
we can go back to these articles.
Yep.
The 4-4 articles once it's finished.
we can.
We
Right,
don't have to go back to each one prior.
no, right. I was just checking to see if there was if anybody wanted to do that now, on any of the ones that we voted on. And I guess the park one would be the only one that would be worth mentioning at this point, but we can continue to Article 12. This is road reconstruction. So, entertain a motion that the committee recommends Article 12 for the road reconstruction capital reserve fund expense for road maintenance.
I so move.
Okay, John moves, second? Okay. So this is a standard article that's in every year, but it has gone up in the total by, I think, 50,000 this year, if I'm not mistaken. It was 600 last year.
I think that's right.
And it will go up again in the future, we were told. I think it's gonna stay at this level for a couple of years, I heard, but it'll go up to 700. Any other discussion, any discussion at all? Neil?
If this article were defeated, and if the proposed budget were defeated, so we had a default budget, there would be $600,000 in that default budget to deal with roads, not the $650.
No, not entirely, I think, because part of this is a state grant, right?
Right, and I'm assuming the state grant was pretty much the same from year to year. Now, if it's significant, I haven't checked. If it's significantly different, say the state grant has gone down significantly, that would make a difference.
Does the entire 600 get into the default budget, or just the 360?
No, you don't get 600.
You only get the taxation
The
amount.
tax part, right,
Oh,
You get the state part. That's the only part you get. If this article's defeated, you get whatever the state gives you for the roads. You don't get,
but in the default budget, we had,
no,
It's
no,
there's nothing in the default budget?
no, not for this.
this is like buying a truck.
Never has been.
So if you vote this, if this is defeated, you still get like the 200 or 300,000 that the state
Right.
would give you.
That's, yeah, 283.
That's, yeah,
I thought the extra money was,
you knew. Nope. Never has been.
when they're preparing the default budget, why wouldn't the money that the town's putting into it, I mean, we take all of the other warrant articles and put it into the default budget. When we do a raise or a police department car or something, it goes into the default budget.
Some of those do, but not all of them.
Yeah,
Not the
because those are
capital.
recurring, and this is
Yeah,
each
Stands
year.
on its own, 650,000.
Operating expense.
Made up of taxation and state. If it's defeated, it doesn't affect what the state gives, but they say, no, we're not gonna raise the difference in taxation, so you get what the state gives you. It's always been that way.
John, is your mic on?
Okay, thank you.
No, but,
There you go, thanks. Just wanna make sure that everybody can hear
Yep.
everybody. So, yeah, we agree there's nothing in the operating budget for this purpose, right? So we would get the 283, 185 from the state regardless. We just wouldn't have the extra 366, so it would be like, was it 40%? Anything else?
Are we still discussing, are we discussing?
Yeah, we're in
this one?
discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, motion's open, we're in
Oh, okay.
discussion, so just making sure everybody has a chance
No, I
to.
support the article as we have, the voters have each year, and ever since we had that large bond, which was designed to get us, to keep our head above water and not continue to deteriorate, so that when you did have to redo a road, you didn't have to do the whole thing at a high cost.
Right.
Get them before they get to red road status, whatever you wanna call it.
right.
So, I just wanna continue on that program and trust that the people making the decisions are gonna pick the right roads, and I trust the DPW, to continue to make the program work.
Right.
Everybody's gotta be able to get to work, they gotta be able to get to where they go to from out here, so keep the roads up.
Yep.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing that hits me in the back of the head is that next year, when they raise it to 700, it's gonna be almost half the amount of the bond that we did that one year. It's getting up there.
Yeah, well,
But-
maybe they won't, maybe when you look at how much taxes are going up, maybe the people making the decision of how much that number should be should say, we'll live with the 650. We
Right.
won't raise it another 50.
Something to
'cause
consider.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, we elect people to positions, and hopefully they'll have the ear of the taxpayers at the same time that
Right.
they're,
Yeah, I'm
Looking
just,
at the
I'm
roads.
playing devil's advocate, cause it's one of those things where you really do need to maintain the roads so that we don't have to go back to another $2 million bond next
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Was 1.5 million, right? But I also look at that line of hitting that 1.5 million, getting closer and closer.
Yeah,
So it's just, the finance in me just kicks in a little bit. All right. Anybody else? Okay, so, all those in favor of the committee recommending Article 12, Neil, you're all set?
Yep.
Okay, road reconstruction, Article 12, raise your hand. Okay, that's, 9 to 1.
8-1.
I'm sorry.
8 to 1.
Carrie walked in and I had 10 in my head. She's not here yet. Sorry.
No.
So that's 810 for Article 12. Thanks for the correction. Okay. Article 13 is for the Lucas CPR devices. I'll make a motion that the committee approve Article 13 for the Lucas CPR devices.
Second.
Or a second? I made the motion. Discussion on this article? Open discussion?
Anybody give me a reminder of what a Lucas CPR device is?
It's the helper for the CPR. It's when the guy gets tired of doing it,
Oh,
he
okay.
puts the automatic
Bumper. Got it.
compressor
Okay.
on, yeah.
And this would come from the fire department replacement vehicle and equipment special revenue fund. This is the one where, was this the 90, it was 90,000 and we're paying for 45 of it?
No,
No, this is total 45. That was something else.
it was the transfer station.
That was transfer station, right. We were paying half of it out of taxes.
Yep,
This
okay.
is completely out of that fund. Now, this is the same fund that the fire truck would come from. They have it on their, on this year column of their CIP plan, the fire truck and the CPR machine.
Great.
Okay.
Sorry, we'll squeeze you in.
And so the tax impact of this is 0. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the committee? Yeah, I want to see the CPR device from the fire department fund. Oh, updated,
Oh, thank
updated
you.
warrants. All those in favor of the committee recommending Article 13 for the Lucas CPR devices, raise your hand. Okay. Now it's 9 to 1, right?
9-0, right?
Neil did not raise his hand.
I'm going to abstain.
You're abstaining?
Okay,
901.
801.
No,
No.
9.
now we're 10.
Now we're 10.
Now we're
Now
10.
Now we're 10.
Now
Carrie-
we're back to an even number.
I know, we are.
Sorry,
Okay,
Now you're
9.
We were 9 2 minutes ago.
Okay.
Okay, good. All right, so now we're 10. All right, Article 14, since I don't make all the motions, I'll entertain a motion for the committee to recommend Article 14, which is $175,000 for a new roadside mower. Anybody like to make that motion?
So moved.
Okay, Jessica, anybody want a second?
Second.
Okay, Mike? Okay, so this is to buy a $175,000 roadside mower, it's 13 cents tax impact. It's $54 for a $400,000 house every year. The argument was that we're contracting out roadside mowing at a higher rate, and we're doing less of it than if we had the mower. We could do it with staff, and they would have a rotation schedule. We have a 1995, wait a minute. So I'm contradicting myself, that's not what I heard. We have a 1995 mower, but we still have to contract out.
I'm not sure the 95 more
Is it-
works or is functional.
It would, I guess it would not be if we're contracting, right?
Yeah, we're contracting out for, my understanding of contracting out for areas that had the highest problem, you know, corners,
Right.
restricted visibility, and this would allow them to do this in the summertime, springtime. They have the staff to do it. course, the other thought would be, you have the staff to do it, and you don't get this machine, maybe you can reduce staff. But that's none. But that, we don't, well, I'm not really advocating.
That's a rabbit hole.
So,
Yeah, we're not. We're doing that.
They spend $12,000 to cover 1/8 of the town, and if they got the mower, they would be able to cover approximately 50% of the town.
The thing I had, I mean, where I come from, I'm looking at it saying, nice to have, but there's a alternate means in place to take care of the hardest, the most areas at risk. And if we're not gonna buy him a plow truck, we certainly don't wanna buy him a mower, because he'd have a higher priority for the plow truck, so.
Yeah. I'm agreeing with that too. To me, it's one of those things that I would defer for another year.
And then just to point out, the priority on was third on the list, so under road reconstruction, the dump truck, and then the roadside motor was the third.
I have to look at the priorities. They're getting the reconstruction. That's a big hit, and they keep raising it every year. They can afford to put this off for another year until they stop raising the reconstruction. They have to give somewhere.
We have 8 more articles after this too, so. Yeah, a lot of times I don't wanna spend more money on contracting services, but this is one of those things where I could live with that. If we would do less and hit the high priority stuff. When I'm driving around, I was looking around to see if I thought this was a big problem, and in the places that I go, some of it's state highway too, so that's not town responsibility. That's important to keep in mind. But it doesn't jump out to me as a big enough problem, personally.
Tom? I guess the time to ask us is when they were in here presenting, but, there are used equipment out there too, right? That comes for less money, so I didn't hear that discussed,
I think that came up at one point. I don't remember his answer, unfortunately, but I don't know, I would tend to think that those things take a beating, and a used piece of equipment might just not be a feasible option, but I don't remember exactly what he said.
Something about other towns that try to buy used equipment and prove to be more troublesome than
Than not.
the savings.
Yeah, that 1995 one was bought in 2019. It wasn't bought in 1995.
Oh, gee.
So that's the last time we bought a used piece of equipment.
Maybe find something slightly less used than 1995.
And I think it's almost like risk reward. If you got the equipment and you're doing it yourself, then you gotta maintain it. And when it breaks down, and the longer you go without hitting an area, I remember him saying, the more chance there
Worse
is
it
of
gets, right?
having breakdowns because of what you're going through, so.
But the repairs are very, very costly. And when you have downtime and you're having repairs, what are we going to be doing? Renting.
Yeah, if you contract out, you're paying a contract price, but you're also not assuming the risk for equipment, repair, and da-da-da, so.
Anybody else? Okay, so the motion is open, has been seconded for Article 14. All those in favor of recommending, that we recommend Article 14, raise your hand.
We recommend it.
To recommend it. Okay, all those opposed? Okay, that's 10-0, so that motion doesn't carry. I'll make a motion that we not recommend Article 14, the roadside mower.
Second.
Anybody, all those in favor of not recommending the roadside mower, raise your hand. All those opposed? Okay, that motion passes to not recommend, 10-0-0. Any abstains? No, everybody was 10, right? Okay. Move to Article 15. This is for, no, I mean, this one didn't change? Oh, the body worn cameras one is the one that changed, right?
Right down the carport.
18, oh, in the carport. Okay, so we're coming up on those. So Article 15 is for 2 TASER certification bundles and 1 TASER 10 certification add-on. TASER 10 is the brand name, it's not 10 TASERs for the police department. So I'll make a motion that the committee recommend Article 15 for the TASERs. Lori, second. discussion on this article?
I support this article. It's one of those things that I'd prefer them to tase somebody before they have to have a physical altercation or have to pull a weapon. It's safer.
Yep.
And if you're dealing with drunks or somebody who's on drugs, this is a much easier way to handle it and a much safer way.
I believe the police chief said that if this doesn't pass, they still have tasers now. This is to get newer ones, and that I think the chief and one other, maybe the captain, I think he said, would not have tasers, but other officers would. So it's not that we wouldn't have any, it would just be a degraded, not everybody would have one.
Right, but our tasers, like everything else in fire and PD, have a shelf life.
Oh, no,
And
no
they're
doubt.
having to start
Oh, you're right.
replace those, so I'd rather see that we have new stuff, so as we're replacing the old stuff,
Yep.
we don't have a hole.
Yeah, I was just trying to mention what the ramifications are if we
Right.
don't, yeah. There would still be tasers out there, and they would be getting older, correct? Neil?
You notice that the chief, in his usual
Bless you.
effort to be transparent, is telling us that you'll never see this one again as a warrant article. This will be in his operating budget.
Right,
Is that
it'd
in
be a
here?
recurring,
Right. Although tasers are less money, it's like a car.
Hope it's not like a car.
It's like a car in the sense that it's a recurring expense, and every year you gotta do one of them.
he wants to get on an annual
Right, but we wanna
replacement
vote on
plan.
the cruisers.
But not on this. That's
Okay,
his
I see what
point.
you're saying,
He's being
Neil.
very clear
Right.
that this will be buried in the budget henceforth.
So at that point, we have absolutely nothing to do with it.
Correct.
Right. Short of approving, recommending the budget as a whole.
Right.
Right. So the cost for this one is, $3.50 for a $400,000 house.
That's a good point, Neil.
.009 tax impact. Yep, that is a key. It's important to know that this becomes an automatic expense in the budget, but the police chief did tell us that, which is good.
Well, and I think, as he sets his budget, he has to decide which recurring costs are most important. I would rather have him making that decision for the department than us, but he just has a lot more information about what needs to
What
be
he needs.
prioritized year after year.
So he said that permanently add the associated cost for maintenance and/or replacement of this equipment, so.
Right.
That's, if he doesn't need to, they have a shelf life, but does this give him the ability to put the purchase of 2 new tasers in the budget every year, explicitly?
So
This,
If two is what he needs.
it said this funding, right, so this amount would be in his budget, right?
No, it would be whatever he needs for tasers, he would put in. It wouldn't be in the default budget, but in the operating budget, he would put in, maybe he needs 1 taser every year, 1 taser 1 year, 2 tasers the next, whatever the pattern is.
Yeah.
He would put that in his budget.
Okay.
He did notice that, or note that this was the second priority on his list,
What was the first?
cruiser.
Cruiser.
And the third?
Third, I don't know if it's the water filtration or the carport, right?
The water
Water
filtration
filtration
is
was
taken
covered in
somewhere
the-
else.
End of year
End of year
purchase.
So we have that grayed out now,
Yeah.
and that should be the carport.
But if this is gonna be in the budget next year, they're getting the cruiser, the water filtration's been taken care of.
Next year, there'll be another cruiser.
It will be a
Yes,
cruiser.
so at this point, they can actually wait till next year.
This is a low dollar amount, though.
Yeah, but it all adds up.
So I would rather say, let the chief make that decision next year. If he doesn't, if he thinks his budget's too high, or we ask him to come back with cuts, and he knows the priority of the taser needs compared to his other things that he's gonna request, whether it's, I don't know, it could be anything, so. They're just replaceable items, and he's got a budget for that, those replaceable items.
Do we remember how many approach shelf life that need to be replaced?
They're
know, but-
okay. I don't have the exact number, but when I sat down with him, they're fine.
Yeah, so I mean, he's already got some flexibility, right? He
Yes.
can withdraw them from himself.
Yes, not, this is not a, oh my God, we're gonna be in deep trouble.
Right. But I'd rather not put him in that spot next year.
Correct. But we're fine with this budget. It's not, because it'll already be in next year's budget, so they'll be fine.
Well, not if this doesn't pass, it won't be in next year's budget.
No, if you'd gone and talked to the chief, he actually explained how many they've got, where they are on the rotation, and they'll be fine to get through next year when this all goes into his budget.
Oh, so even if we vote no, he can just put the tasers into his budget?
He could, if the selectmen agree with it.
I mean, if something happened next year and suddenly all the tasers
Sure.
died, the Board of Selectmen, he has the ability to go to the Board of Selectmen and say, I need this, we're in trouble, and they are more than
Okay.
capable of doing that.
And that happens. At the end of the year, there's $500,000 available. Like, he requests something, and they might agree to it. They do that.
They did that this year, didn't they?
Right, it's, yeah, somebody gets
Also, during the year,
during the year.
remember, this is a bottom line budget, we appropriate X million, and the selectmen can spend it any way they want. They're telling us this is what they intend to do.
Right.
But this doesn't bind them.
Correct.
So, if there were a need in in May, the selectmen could buy whatever equipment they want, tasers among other things, as long as they found the money somewhere else in their budget. And as a result of the fact that that almost always, we lose one or two employees in some department in the town over the course of a year, somebody resigns and so forth. If it takes a month or two to fill that position, there is the money which we've come to talk about as surplus, that could be used for this or any other purpose. They've been doing that for years, appropriately so.
So this isn't one where no means no? If the voters say no, then he can, during the year, he can still put it in his budget even though the voters say no?
Next year.
Next year, yes.
Right.
Not during this year, though.
Correct.
Right.
What's the
But
requirement?
again, if something goes,
Well, a lot of times we say no means no. When you ask a question, you put it out there, you might be better off not asking.
What's the
I mean, he might be better off, if this article wasn't there, he could bring it up this year.
Does he have money in his budget now for tasers?
Well, not identified probably as the tasers. I mean, if he has a position unfilled, he probably would.
What's the requirement for a warrant article? Is it 15,000?
I don't think it's any
No, just, yeah, that's for,
CP.
that's to spend, you need a public hearing over over that amount, I believe, to
Okay.
spend money.
So this doesn't meet the requirement of needing to get a warrant article passed to be able to spend this money, correct? And that's where I believe the conversation for the operation budget falls in.
I don't understand.
So he doesn't, so as you guys were describing with the operational costs, I just want to make sure that that's truly a factual statement, that they can buy it without needing a warrant article approved to be able to buy.
If there is need, great need, all the tasers stop tasing, he can go to the Board of Selectmen and say, this is an emergency. But you don't just go to the Board of Selectmen and say, hey, today I want 2 tasers.
Right.
You have to show extreme, and then they study it, they just don't,
Well, you could ask.
right, but by and large,
Yeah.
you just
No.
don't say, I want this, that, and the other.
Tom,
Yes.
on line 265 of the police, 266, and 265 of the police department budget, there is a line called police taser equipment, and another line called police taser assembly, and there's $1 in each of those lines, both in the default budget and in the operating budget.
Right.
So, he's already got the ability, if he can find the money somewhere else in his budget, or the selectmen
Right.
can find it somewhere else in their budget, to get these exact items.
And
Right.
even, okay.
No, I seem to remember him saying something to the effect of, yeah, he could have done that, but this is for transparency and to let people vote on it instead, is how he put it. Or at least that's my recollection.
discussion? Okay. So, the, motion is open, so all those in favor of the committee recommending Article 15, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3. All those opposed? That's 7. Any abstain? So 3, 6, 1.
3, 6, 1.
Okay, that motion does not carry. All those in favor of not
We
recommending,
need a motion and a second.
I'm sorry?
We need a motion and a second to not
Oh, I'm sorry,
recommend.
I'll make a motion that the committee not recommend Article 15. Motion is made, anybody want a second?
Second.
Laurie, second. All those in any other discussion? All those in favor of not recommending Article 15 for the tasers, raise your hand. 6. Opposed? 2, abstain?
3,
I'm sorry, 3?
3 abstained?
3, 1.
6, 3, 1.
6, 3, 1, abstain 1, right? I'm sorry. All right, so that motion carries to not recommend Article 15. See how I do it at 10 o'clock at this?
It's a team effort.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Tear
Yeah,
right through
check
these.
me. Okay, Article 16, for the 5-bay carport, $25,000. Okay, oh, this one changed too?
Yeah. From
So
30,000
it's-
to 25,000.
It's all
Oh.
from taxation instead of a fund? Okay,
So what is it?
so,
He took out sort of all this stuff.
It used to be 30,000.
so it was 30,000 with 2,500 coming from, one fund, bringing it, from a fund, bringing it down to 27,500. Now it's just 25,000 total from taxation.
That's the old article, isn't it?
Yeah, we're just looking at the old article.
Differences.
The new one is 25,000.
Yeah.
Straight.
All from taxes.
All taxes. The old one was gonna end up being 27,500 from taxes, so it's less than the taxation amount from the other one.
Are there any articles that we voted on previously that changed the?
We already did.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, we voted on, just, Article 2 was the fire truck. There was a little bit of a difference on that one. You can't encumber future year, you can't put the future year payments in this one, so it's still 900,000 down payment. There'll have to be an article next year to pay either the balance or the first year of the lease payment. Every year you have to do a different article for each payment. But next year we will know how much the remainder is, so that didn't change the outcome.
This article, when the chief discussed it, this is something that would be nice, but they can live without it for a year. I mean, we're not the only town whose cars stand out. I know they need storage, but it's not a live or die. It's not high on his tops of priorities. And again, there's a lot of stuff this year, and we need to tighten our belts.
I mean, it's $7.65 for a $400,000 house, 2 cents on the tax rate. And it's, again, ultimately, it's less than the amount that would have been taxed beforehand, just for,
Right.
for context.
But it all adds up.
Oh, no doubt, yep. What was if it didn't pass, the alternative was, does anybody remember exactly?
They'll just keep doing what they're doing.
They're doing what they're doing now, right? I mean, there wasn't a, this
It
was,
wasn't like the cruiser that they need this.
this was help to, on the storage,
Yes.
setup, and it would protect vehicles and bulk item evidence. Right now, I think right now they also have, they're leasing out some space for some bulk evidence and storage outside of the police station. They could get rid of that cost, and have it in-house, basically, was one of the benefits of this. This is, approaching about half the cost of a cruiser, basically, to put it in reference to. And what was this on his priority? Again? Fourth. Okay.
Aren't the cruisers mostly out in the daytime anyway?
In the night.
Yeah, so in the wintertime, they'd have to clear all the snow off before they respond, so.
Like we do with some of our cars.
Yeah, so I mean, if they're responding to somebody breaking into your house with a gun, I want them as fast as possible to respond.
Good point.
Goffstown doesn't have garages, Dunbarton,
Plus, this is a
Doesn't have
construction quote.
garages.
This is a really good price for this, by the way.
Five-bay carport,
Yeah, with evidence storage for $25,000, that's really good.
so it's for
Yeah.
4 vehicles, 1 bay designated for, a bulk item.
It's a metal structure too, it's not something that's just gonna degrade over time.
Yep.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, so all those, I made the motion, right? I did.
yes.
All those in favor of the committee recommending Article 16 for the 5-bay carport, raise your hand. Three. All those opposed? 7. Any abstain? Okay. That motion does not carry. I will make a motion that the committee not recommend Article 16 for the 5-bay carport. All those in favor of not...
I'll second.
Sorry, thank you. I'm just moving fast. All those in favor of not recommending the carport, raise your hand. Okay, 7. All those in favor, all those opposed? 3. Any abstain? Okay, that motion carries. Committee will not recommend Article 16. Article 17, raising $90,000 to purchase a new scale at the transfer station, $45,000 coming out of a recyclable special fund, $45,000 raised by taxation. I'll make a motion that the committee recommend Article 17.
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
Tom,
Oh, sure, go ahead.
did they ever say they were gonna use existing manpower to man the scale, or if they're gonna actually need people to man the scale for this?
I don't remember that specifically coming up.
It should be equivalent to what they have now. I mean, somebody has to,
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
the
charge
eyeball
the,
guy.
yeah, should be even faster if
Somebody
they-
comes out and looks at your truck and they take a guess on what the charge should be.
Yep.
It would be a little longer for, I think, to do the scale time-wise, but they still effectively do the same, like you said.
Yeah, except they're winging it now.
They're winging it.
No one knows how close that is, and I'll bet
And
it's
we've
not
had-
that close.
and We've had past problems with
Yeah.
it being off, so
Yeah.
that eyeball guesstimate goes out the window.
Yep,
It's only for the construction materials,
Correct.
For the demo.
for the demo.
It's
Yeah,
not
demo.
for anything else.
but there's a fair amount of that,
Yeah, yeah.
and then the town pays to transport it one way or the other, so.
Right. We hope that we're lucky.
Right.
Just food for thought, looking at comparative towns by us for the population size. Right around 6,000 people is about where you start seeing towns having scales for charging. So Henniker has it by the weight estimate that has 6,000. Hopkinton has a partner with Webster, which they have a scale. Dunbarton it only has 3,000 people. They have CCs per feet per item. Goffstown has a scale. They have 18,000 people. New Boston has 6,000 people, and they have a scale. Francistown and Deerfield. Francistown has 1,600 people, Deertown has just under 5,000 people, and they pay per unit. Hillsborough has just under 6,000 people, and they pay per unit. Bow is partnered with Concord for using their scale. So we see towns as low as 6,000 people, with Hopkinton having a scale, partnering with Webster, which raises it just a little bit more, but we sit at 9,000 people. So for how much volume we have going through our transfer station, it would almost seem right that it should be almost a standard practice and expected to weigh it by the scale. When you have that much more trash coming through, you probably want a little bit more objective evidence to making sure that we have that proper accountability. You start moving people in the transfer station that aren't charging we'll get right back into the same, situation we were in before. If we have a scale, there's, it's a solid number, that's what you charge. If trash prices go up, there is concern with the biomass plant, prices going up. That could, have everything falling off of the eyeball scale, right? Then we're gonna get back into a deficit. So with, the prices changing, then it will keep that on par for what people need to pay. So it will take that questionable evidence, or put evidence in for being more objective.
And, I'm sorry, no, go ahead.
Do we know how much money we collect each year from demo fees, however they're assessed? I mean, if we're collecting $1 a year, that's one thing. If we're collecting $50,000 a year, that's something else. So,
I don't remember the exact amount, but we were $30,000 off for the 1 year, 2023, the previous year. So if we can be off by $30,000 for how much we took in to how much we paid to get rid of it.
Get rid of it, yeah.
Was
So we
that-
underestimated.
Was that over 1 year? Or
That was 2023.
some of that was due to, they speculated that some people weren't being charged to dump the demo, some people were being undercharged. It was a combination, potentially a combination of the two.
I have a problem with, you're asking people, because there are people in this town that don't ever have to use demo. There are people that are not, they just don't.
Yeah, I got
And they're getting hit to pay for this. I don't think that's fair. The other thing is, a lot of the towns you mentioned have a much bigger purse than we have.
good right now.
But then too, when you say we're not always catching everything, it's hard about training your people and making sure that they do their homework too, and I'm not attacking the department, I think they do a good job. But it's a lot of money.
when you were listening to the presentation, was there any estimate of how long, how many years it would take us to recover the $90,000 cost?
There was a discussion of adding a fee in to recoup that cost. But I don't think it was too long.
Yeah, he couldn't say exactly, I think.
Like
It was
1 to 3 years,
a
I
tough
think
one
we're
for him.
kicked around.
Took a guess.
They wanted to put a fee in?
I don't-
They wanted to add an extra fee, a
Right.
demo fee on top of the unit.
That's like
It's
hitting
just to
people twice, that's not right.
There are two issues here. One, when we bring whatever we bring to, where do we bring it? Concord?
No, it's here, we have our own, oh, you mean where do we dump the demo?
We have to pay a fee there.
Right.
Correct.
Based on weight.
Correct. Yeah. That's right.
In addition to that, we have other expenses, the trucking, and now
Yes.
the scale.
Correct.
So I think the fee that he's talking about is in addition to whatever we would charge
It's like a surcharge.
for getting the stuff to Concord and dumped there. In addition, that would cover the cost of the scale, the cost of the trucking, and so forth.
To help
But
pay,
not to make a profit, that was
no,
highly
no.
stressed.
right, to help pay for it, yeah, quickly,
So
more quick,
It would be
more,
self-supporting.
yeah, right.
But you're punishing
Well, what, no, no, no.
part of the residents.
If,
No.
if in fact, if in fact Terry's right, and there is a fee charged, it's only charged to those people who use
Do the demo.
who bring demo to the dump. They're the only ones who would pay, A, the fee, and B, the standard charge. So,
Right, but
user pays, isn't that a fair way?
that'd be fine if you weren't saying that if we put this through, we're asking all the taxpayers to pay
So
for this.
think of it as,
And they're not all using it.
think of it as a risk
So-
reduction. If we
No.
don't charge the proper amount, you're gonna get paid for somebody else dumping their trash because we didn't collect enough revenue.
That's true, but if you're gonna charge a surcharge, it's almost like double dipping. I don't like that you're charging somebody twice. That's not right either.
I don't understand how it's double dipping, but remember, only 50% of this is coming from future taxes. The other 50% came from money that we should have gone into could have gone into the general fund and went into this separate account. So,
And yet if we had voted that
if
it
we
all
have
went
a
to
fee
this
that
account,
covers the whole cost, and because we voted down going from 50% to 100%, we're still getting a good part of that fee, half, going into the general fund and offsetting taxes.
Bill has.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, the only thing I say, I think this is good, I think that information's excellent, and I think this is a good in the long term. My thought, though, is you have your fee, you're collecting fees, half of it's funding it this year. Old Anderson, why don't we wait another year and see if we get the whole thing funded by the fees that we're collecting now? And we don't know if it's gonna go from 50 to 100, but it'll still be 50, even if the other article fails. And once we get enough, you can then fund it without going to half of it from taxation.
I would counter that, though. You know, we're 30,000 we were short, right, in 1 year.
1 year, yeah.
And we're building more homes, and you got outside contractors, and they're all carrying the scraps up there and all the stuff. I think it could go the other way on us,
Yep.
right? So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Terry, did you say the fee was going to be charged regardless of whether this passed or not?
No,
Only
No.
if this
no,
passed?
it's for the scale. It would be,
So it would be business as usual, losing 30,000 a year if we don't get the scale.
It could, although,
so they did mitigate the issue.
I mean,
In 2024, they didn't see as big of an issue, but when you have it relying on human experience and factors, it's not perfect and it's bound to happen again.
Jason has put more management into it to start to claw back that loss and not make it worse. So there was a lack of oversight before, he's put that into place. And it's acknowledged that the selectmen worked with him on that. So that money, there was still, I guess there's still a negative balance they're working back on, but they're improving the situation. There's no guarantee that that will continue, or either way, I mean, it's up to the management. The director has to make sure the policies are in place to manage that. Mike, did you?
Yeah, if this were to pass and the scale brings in more revenue, we should be able to get that reported out for next year's budget, and possibly make the argument to reduce by that increased savings, right? So we just invested 45,000 into the, facilities. Can we see a reduction now that we've
a reduction of
an
what?
increase in revenue, a reduction of their budget for.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean, like we're paying ahead, we would have the expectation that revenues have increased, and we want to see that savings come back.
Now, it goes into that fund of theirs.
Well, right now, half of it would go into
Oh, half of
into
it,
their
okay.
special revenue
All
fund.
right,
Maybe all of it.
Or potentially all of it, if one of these articles passes that moves it to 100%. So,
Did they mention, that the scale needs like maintenance or someone to come in to make sure it's correct?
yeah, it has to be calibrated occasionally,
Research.
and there would be maintenance on it. And the other thing that did come up is that if they reconfigure the transfer station, this scale can be moved around. It's not permanently fixed, you know, it can be adjusted location-wise, so.
This is the kind of scale, I take it, where you drive your truck onto the scale, they weigh it. You drive your truck off over to the demo area, you unload your truck, and then you drive the truck back on the scale, they subtract the two weights times the fee, or the
Right.
charge, that's how much you pay.
Right.
I don't know if it's right next to the demo, or if it's, you have to drive around and come back again. So there is some, operational overhead that will be involved in this, as opposed to the guy, you know, $50.
And every time you move the scales, they have to be recalibrated.
Probably. I don't think they'd be moving a lot, I think, but my point was that it could be moved if needed. So, it's, we wouldn't put expense into installing this and having to put more expense later to move it and reinstall it. It would probably be a calibration though required.
And once again, clarity from, Kelly. There would be two charges for people, once we have the scale in place, two charges. One for the demo, and then a separate fee to recover the cost of the scale. Is that the concept?
I don't remember the exact details, I think they're still trying to iron that out, but they were talking about a temporary fee to recoup the scale cost.
He brought that up. I don't know that that's been hard written in
Yeah.
stone, but he put that out as an option to help
Oh,
And
recoup the
it's
cost.
not in the warrant article, so.
Yeah.
Because they have problems when we went through the decal thing, getting decals to everybody. Every time they go to charge a fee, there is an issue. Not everybody gets charged. There's gonna be cracks.
but in this case, it's much harder. You get on the scale, you pay the fee.
Well, it depends on where they charge you for the fee.
Well, there's always an option, there's always a possibility that
Right.
somebody goes through without paying anything.
Yeah.
I mean, that's management, you have to,
Right.
you have to manage that process. I don't think there's any way around that, unless, you know, there really probably isn't. It has to be managed properly. He acknowledged that too, that they have to figure out where to put it, how to not affect traffic. They had that discussion where
Right.
they weren't 100% sure at the time how they were gonna put it
You're
in
gonna
there.
have to go round.
Yeah, right. So that's a tricky one.
I think we need to wait a year on this, as Bill said, until they come up with a real plan to recover the cost. And we know, not the dollar amount necessarily, but we understand that there are going to be two components to this. And as Lori said, this fee is not going to be paid back to the non-using taxpayers, but will only be paid by the using folks bringing that kind of demo stuff to the dump,
Right.
the transfer station.
And I really think if we leave it for a year, maybe they'll study that fund, whatever it's called, for recyclables and all that stuff. If they study it, maybe they can get a large portion of it out of that fund before we get to this again.
Anything else? Okay. Check me, did I make the motion?
I believe so.
I did, yeah. Let's put a little check mark next to it when I do make the motion next time, just to make sure. We talk so much about stuff and I forget.
It's so long ago.
I know. Okay, Article 17, and just to reiterate, the cost of this is 3 cents on the tax impact, about $14 for a $400,000 house. All those in favor of the committee recommending Article 17 for the transfer station scale, raise your hand. 1, 2. All those opposed? Is that 8? Abstain? Okay, that motion fails. Motion to not recommend Article 17 for the scale.
Second?
Second, thank you. If you're in favor of not recommending Article 17, raise your hand. It's 8, okay. If you're opposed, 2. Abstain, 8, 2, 0. That motion carries to not recommend Article 17. And the main thrust of the not recommend was look and see what happens to the fund over the next year and come up with a plan to come up with a payback.
More defined.
Yeah, a little bit more data and a plan behind it. Okay. Article 18, this is for the police body worn cameras. Naomi, you said there was a change to this?
Thought it had the equipment.
short of the dollar amount change.
3411.
Dollar amount's the same.
2485 coming out of a fund, so this is all taxation? No?
Raise and
Yeah,
appropriate.
you took out the account number for the offset.
The account,
Where was it being offset from before?
The
so it was,
account,
yeah.
lease. Axon. Media storage.
media storage. And the balance, so it was 5,926 taxation, now it's the full amount of 8411, right?
Right.
Wonder what they're doing with the other money.
You don't happen to know why they took that out, do you remember? The offset? So this is .006 tax impact, which is, $2.58 per $400,000 house. So this is for the 3 cameras, the docking bay, media storage and licensing, the 15 personnel. This will be added to the operating budget beginning in 2026 as a recurring expense for maintaining and operating,
So what you're telling us is this is gonna be in there no matter what next year, correct?
not necessarily, I mean, if this passes, he will put it in the budget. If it doesn't, he doesn't have to, but he could, you know.
Just like the tasers, there are 2 lines in the police budget that deal with this. Line 268, BWC, body worn camera, licensing and storage. It's roughly 2,500 in the default, and he's asking for 4,200 in the operating budget, the proposed budget. And then for body worn camera equipment, $1 in the line.
Right.
And
In
that's
case this
both in
doesn't pass.
default and in the proposed.
So it says, this funding will be added to the operating budget as a recurring expense for the purpose of maintaining and operating the equipment and associated fees. That doesn't really say for the purchase, but is that implied?
I think that this and the tasers are one and the same thing. He was pressured to lower his budget. He took it out of the budget, put it into a warrant article.
Right.
But if this warrant article fails, he still has the ability to get this equipment if he wants to,
Because he's got the line item.
because he has $1.
Right.
Does anybody remember how many body cameras are currently in service?
And I don't know if these are replacements or.
I would imagine they have a lifespan.
Yeah, I don't know how long we've had them. It hasn't been that many years, so they may have a short lifespan.
I think a lot of this equipment is rotational. Tasers, body armor, cameras, they have, wear and tear, and they only last usually 5 years or less. There's a couple of things here. One is the acquisition of these, the other one is the fact that it was pulled out as a warrant article and will be put back into the budget next year. And that line item will be higher than it has been, I believe.
And who, Harry, did you have the priority list for the?
So, on the priority list, I don't remember this being on the priority. I have it in italics, so in the initial, meeting that we had with them, I don't remember it being stated on there, so. Naomi, do you have, where the police body cameras might be for a priority?
did also note that the chief said there was a big increase for the cost of the media storage for the body worn cameras too, as part of this.
Yeah, in the budget, the body worn camera licensing and storage, was in the approved budget for 2486, but he actually spent 4225. And that's what he wants in the proposed budget.
Right.
So obviously that money came from somewhere else in his budget or some other budget.
I have his priorities here. Did we find that or no?
I didn't have it in
Was it
the
in there?
list that I had. It wasn't in there, but,
On, this is the one you're looking at?
oh, no, I have a list from notes.
This was non-discretionary, right? Yeah, it's different.
Yeah,
He
it was
had
non-discretionary.
Media storage and licensing, he had $1,739.
Was that?
Well, that was, he had it as non-discretionary. That might have been part of his budget, though. That wasn't a
That's
warrant
just
article.
the storage and licensing.
Yeah, from
Because
the,
you gotta have that, 'cause otherwise the camera doesn't.
right.
So there wasn't a priority
is-
given on it?
Not on this one, no, because this was just part of his operating budget.
Yeah.
He didn't do priorities on non-discretionary. He only did it on discretionary. And this was not part of that list. He did give a priority on this one, tasers were like 3A, and this was, no, I had this as number 2,
For police body cameras?
body worn camera, yeah.
Okay.
Tahoe was number 1, this was number 2, tasers was 3,
Okay.
safety complex, water filtration, that went away, carport was 5, that was it.
Yep.
And there was an on-call discussion, number 6, but that's not an issue this year. So, this was number 2. I don't have any specific notes as to, how many he has right now.
No, I just had noted that he said they need 3 cameras this year and 1 docking station, which is what the warrant article says.
Right. I'm kind of a personal fan of the body worn cameras. I think it's a good record for the police to have to protect them and the public.
And we'll probably pay more in legal fees if we don't have.
If you don't have them, yeah, that's another side effect. So
Well, the issue of whether they're desirable and the issue of how to pay
I'd
for
pay
it
for it, it's two separate
are
issues.
separate issues.
Right, correct.
Yeah, but if he can't pay for them, then he doesn't have them.
Pardon me?
Well, he has what he has now.
But if they break,
But
There's
once
something wrong
again,
with it.
he can do what he can do with the tasers. If it becomes a real problem, he can go see the Board of Selectmen.
He can transfer money in his own budget if something is underspent or less desirable.
Right.
Or he can go to the selectmen and say, I really need this, and take it out of some other budget.
If we're short a person for a month, there's is, that he can move that money around to wherever he wants.
Yes. Well, no, he has to go to the selectmen, but, yes.
Okay, any other discussion? So I will make a motion that the committee recommend Article 18 for the police body worn camera.
Second.
purchase. Second by Lori. All those in favor of the committee recommending Article 18, raise your hand, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All those opposed? 2, 0. That motion carries. The committee will recommend Article 18. Article 19. This is for cemetery improvements for the Cypre. To take $35,000 from the Cypre account for cemetery improvements. excuse me, this has no direct tax impact. It's coming from an account, which is called the Cypre account, which is funded by burial costs, permits. It has sufficient funds. On the Cemetery Advisory Committee, full disclosure, and we came up with this number. So there's a lot of work that the town still needs to do on its cemeteries. We raised $30,000 last year from Cypre in an article, and this covers like the second level of priority. This is mostly for headstone repairs. There's a lot of headstones that are down and broken. So if you go by Center Square Cemetery, they've done a pretty good job. 161 stones were repaired or uprighted this year and cleaned. That's part of the service as well. So the same would occur. This would be on the Sugar Hill and Eaton cemeteries at the end of Sugar Hill Road. So I'm in favor of this. And again, it's not direct taxation, and it's not money that would have necessarily been in the general fund. It goes to the Cypre account by design. It has been for a long time.
Yeah, I'm for this. I mean, it's got its own account, and it's the correct thing to do.
We approve this every year because money is set aside in that account for this purpose. The question is how much you're gonna take out, and that depends, as Tom said,
Yeah.
on what the needs of the cemeteries are. This is a no-brainer.
In the advisory committee that I'm on, we just recommended to the cemetery trustees. We didn't make the decision. We recommended 32,000, and they just rounded it up to 35, knowing that there was sufficient funds in the account, so. And there's a 5-year plan, by the way, for this, so it's not just willy-nilly, throw money at stuff. Most years, just, transparency, most years this has been 10,000 for a long time. Last year, the board, seeing the problem, raised it to 30,000 on their own. There was no advisory committee at the time. This year, we bumped it up by a couple thousand, trying to be conservative and not deplete the fund too much. They agreed 35 made sense, and it's going to a worthy effort for the town for maintenance. So.
Tom, I know in other years, we've always asked the question, how much is in the account? Because that's usually the first question comes up. When we say there's sufficient funds, sufficient is how much?
Naomi has, I think it's 160,000.
Okay.
Off
I
the
think
top
we
of my
even
head.
usually put it in our little blurb.
Sure, yeah. I have the fund balances somewhere here.
And the scope of the maintenance was fixing the headstones.
Yeah, uprighting down headstones and repairing broken ones.
I think September 30th of '24, we have $162,026.
Okay, very good.
62, okay. So some thought was put into an adequate amount to take care of, there were actually 3 cemeteries on the plan for this year, but that would've brought it up to like 46,000, and we backed one out and tried to be level, more level with the depleting the fund. So, trying to stick to around 30 grand. And this is only gonna happen for 2 more years, and then barring any other problems that come up, it's gonna drop back down again to standard maintenance and cleaning, and, this'll take care of this and next year would take care of the major problem in town, 5 cemeteries that need it. Motion for the committee to, motion for the committee to recommend Article 19 for $35,000 from the Cypre account.
Second?
Any other discussion, questions? Okay. All those in favor of the committee recommending Article 19, raise your hand. All those opposed? That's 10-0-0. Committee will recommend Article 19. Article 20, $25,000 for the Conservation Commission for the forestry services. This comes from a forestry account, and the exact name is in here. Town forestry account. This is on the warrant every year, as far as I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And it's for updating the plan to do harvests, which the town gets money from on the harvest from public land. So, anybody would Anybody like to make a motion that the committee approves
I
Article
will,
20?
I move that we accept Article 20.
Second,
Second. To recommend Article 20?
correct.
Any other questions, discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the
Same
committee
question,
recommend?
balance,
Oh, I'm sorry.
balance?
Oh, maybe we can ask Naomi to check her handy dandy sheet one more time.
5,000.
I have that list somewhere, but it's buried in this heap of paperwork that I have. I should have it tattooed to my arm.
Thought one of these was getting depleted. It's just pulling that.
This should easily fuel us.
As of December 31st, 2024 is 141,
It's not that one.
769.
Yeah.
Okay.
All those in favor of the committee recommending Article 20, raise your hand. All right, that's 10. Opposed? 0. Committee will recommend Article 20. Article 21. Shall the town raise and appropriate $10,000 for the previously established Employee Retirement Capital Reserve Fund. So this is the, so there's a capital reserve fund to put away for future retiree obligations. So when somebody retires, the town has to pay for their unused benefit time, sick days, vacation days, and such. Somebody's retiring this year, and that there's an item in the budget to pay that, and it'll deplete a good chunk of this fund, and there's really unclear as to what retirements are coming up ahead of us. And so they wanna put money back into this fund. It's usually, I think it's, correct me if I'm wrong, it's been funded by taxation over the years. There's no other source for this fund other than taxation, right?
So when somebody has to be retired, if they're eligible, then it goes to this issue into the proposed.
Right.
$367,448.
That's our worst-case potential liability if everybody left at the same time.
Which will never happen.
Neil?
Pay me now or pay me later. If this fund doesn't have enough money, it's going to be a tax impact in the year in which the retirement occurs. If this account has money, either the retirement is covered by it or partly covered by it, and the tax burden is less. So there's no question that these retirement payments are going to have to be made
One way or the other.
in due course. So I suppose it's better to have it gentle rather than a spike.
And I would assume there's also an opportunity to earn some interest on that.
One hopes so, but we've been hearing terrible.
Oh,
Yeah, they're not good at
being
that.
part of the trustees.
We're only $1,400 right now.
I understand what you're saying about the retirement.
Only 1,400.
I understand what you're saying about the retirement, Neil, but I also think that the Board of Selectmen needs to really study the retirement program and do some reevaluating on it.
Well, people are under contract right
Right,
now.
but going forward, they
Going
can
forward.
adjust that, and I think it's time that they started getting a
Yeah,
little more
and I
realistic.
think that came
In
up,
other words, use it or lose it.
Yeah,
changing the benefit, yeah, right.
because there's some big chunks in there that
But
you,
that's already a commitment that's been made, even
For-
if we change it tomorrow.
correct.
We still have the
But
liability.
going down the pike, we could fix that
Hold on
dike.
a second.
So you're signing up to run for selectman?
God, I've been asked for school board, now it's selectmen.
There's $210,000 payments from the employees eligible for retirement and what you have to pay out in accrued time if you're up.
Ouch.
So there's about $157,000 obligated for a handful of people in the retirement requirements. Out of the 367, 157. So there's $210,000 of accrued time across the board with the non-payment.
How does that affect their pensions from the retirement system?
I'm not part of the retirement system.
Most of the town employees aren't the retirement system.
These, our town employees are not members of the state retirement system?
Yes, they really are, I just don't know how they, I don't know how retirement does that.
Oh. Oh, thank you.
So it's 1,400 roughly in the fund now, 21, but the total liability is still 367,
Unfunded, yes.
unfunded.
But we take a step back, you're asking for the employee retirement capitalization. So your liability
but not everybody's eligible to retire right now. So there's a worst case, but there's a realistic immediate. Next year, that number could increase because somebody might hit that 20-year mark or whatever it is. Right.
Does the 1,400 take into consideration the person that's retiring this year already? No.
It's gonna stay, they would want to take that out of there and close it, which would require more. But where they have an unfunded liability, which was mentioned by once, we really should think about doing something. We decided that we would just put the retirement in the budget. Think of it that way, and then add to it.
Do you guys have something you wanna bring up? Just wanted to keep one thread, one conversation going on at a time. What? Good? Okay. Good, John?
Good.
Okay, I saw your hand move, so, okay. Any other, discussion? Okay, again, I forget if I made the motion or not, I believe I did. Laura seconded it. Okay, all those in favor of the committee, recommending Article 21, raise your hand. That's 10, unanimous, okay. All those opposed? None, abstained, none. Committee will recommend Article 21. Article 22. This is a petition warrant article. I will make a motion that the committee recommend Article 22 for the fireworks, $11,000 by petition.
Second.
For Carrie. All right, discussion.
What is the undesignated fund balance?
That is money, if I say this correctly, Naomi will tell me I did. It's money that hasn't been encumbered to anything or earmarked for anything special. It's just kinda, it's money that's there to use if, for almost
It's a
anything.
cookie jar, huh?
If you can add to that, Naomi, please do, but,
So, what this basically is saying is that, and I'm making up the number, of the $400,000 that was left over from the 2024 budget that wasn't spent. There was about $550 left over, the selectmen spent $150, my numbers are
Yeah.
round.
Yeah.
So there's 400 left over. This article says, no, if this article passes, we're gonna have 389 left over, because 11,000 is taken out for fireworks.
Yeah.
So there's no difference between this article and an article appropriating $11,000 in tax money.
so, in this case, surplus.
Yeah, it's just next year's money in a way, right?
The selectmen ordinarily will take that $400,000 that's left over, assuming they meet the minimum requirement of 5%.
Yep.
That's imposed by the state of New Hampshire, and use that in October, November, October, I guess, to offset taxes. If this passes, they'll have $11,000 less.
Less, yeah. How's this been paid for in the past?
Private funding?
The town has raised money and private funding combination. The different times, it's been different.
Both ways, right?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me a couple of years ago, the finance committee rejected the article to pay for this, and the town voted for it.
Yeah, because
It was-
historically, if they don't get the fireworks, there won't be a celebration with a carnival and stuff, because fireworks are what
That what attracts
What
everybody.
Part of the draw.
That
Yeah.
was, if I remember right, that was the reasoning.
I've heard the carnival won't come if there's no fireworks too.
Correct.
Ah, there you go.
Like, you have to have fireworks, otherwise they will not come here.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know if that's still true, but I've heard that in the past.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Does the town receive benefit financially from the carnival? Do we get some of the proceeds, or?
No.
So one of the questions that came up was, why should the town take money out of the fund, which could be used for offsetting taxes, to give to a private organization?
We pay directly to the vendor for the fireworks, we don't give it to
It wouldn't go to it wouldn't go to the
whoever's doing it.
patriotic committee, which is not,
Go to the committee,
doesn't go to them, right? They are,
direct pay to the vendor,
okay.
not the.
So the town is paying for fireworks, straight, okay. There was question about that before, but that's
Does the
been
town make any money from the carnival?
I don't believe so.
Where does the profit go?
Pardon me?
The private organization, I would assume, that runs the carnival, right?
So they just get to rent the land for free to throw on a good show and,
Patriotic celebration.
It's a
you know,
Ware
you know,
Patriotic
you know,
Committee
the
that is not town
The
affiliated.
townspeople get to celebrate.
Okay.
You know, that's the benefit for
That's
the
the
town.
reward.
Yeah.
that's on
You
school
wanted to
property.
rent out the gazebo, did you?
That sounds like a fantastic idea, thank you.
For $11,000.
In the past, this number was in the 6,000 to 7,000
Yeah.
range.
6,000, that's what I remember, yeah.
I don't remember it being this high.
Yeah.
I don't know that fireworks
Yeah,
have
everything's
gone
gone
up
up.
that much. Doubled?
Yes.
Maybe the fireworks will go a little higher.
Big high ones.
Get above the tree line so I can see them from my house.
You wanna be able to see it on the.
They go higher.
Yeah, you're buying for the height of the firework, then it depends on the color of the fireworks. Then if it depends on whether you have more than one color in a firework and if there's a design to it. There's a lot that goes into that.
Just to explode it in the air.
You didn't know I knew that.
Boy, well, you're gonna be the future parks director, right?
Hang on one second.
No
Parks
stipend.
director and fireworks
Naomi-
supervisor.
Naomi was chiming in on,
I think for many, many years you had the benefit of having the Tiffany set them off, and as part of that was, there was 50% discount. Tiffany passed away, so
we lost the discount. Ah, okay, that would explain some of
Lost
that.
a benefactor.
there's gonna be, we get 50% of those.
Okay.
Because you have to have somebody licensed to do this now, not just it used to be the fire departments, you could do that, but
I thought we had Atlas do this for a long time.
I have no idea. You've been here a long time.
Apparently, we're getting some kind of a discount that we no longer get. That's kind of what Naomi was saying. So this is a tax
In the
impact.
past, though, the committee has raised the money, is that it?
What I heard was the last 2 years, there was somebody who donated the money to pay for a couple years of it, and I guess that maybe has dried up.
But it was the
Patriotic?
Patriotic Celebration Committee
They
that
raised
was
it.
responsible for providing the fireworks.
Right.
Went around and solicited donations.
And this is
One year they were passing a tin can around
right,
among participants, so
Mm-hmm.
everyone who's asked, who was there was asked to give some.
Cough up a few.
and this is by petition, 25 signatures is not coming from the selectmen, and they do not recommend it. Since it's their budget, their balance. I would, personally, I would tend to think that there's enough businesses in town where you could raise the money to do this.
Yep.
I was on the Pine Tree Riot, Historical Society, we raised $6,000 in about 2 months, to help offset the cost of that celebration and give a lot of things away free. The point was, we raised half this money, not really trying that hard. We tried, but, we could have
Yeah.
gone further.
With a lot less visibility than this thing has, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So fireworks are great.
I just think the Patriotic Committee ought to be
Yeah.
beating the bushes.
Any other comments? This is again, by petition. All those I made the motion. All those in favor of the committee recommending Article 22, raise your hand. 0. All those opposed? Abstain? 0, 10, 0. I'll make a motion that the committee not recommend Article 22 for the fireworks by petition. If you're in favor of not recommending the article? Second, thank you. Man, fast. All those in favor of not recommending the article, raise your hand. All those opposed? Abstain? That motion passes 10-0-0. Committee will not recommend Article 22. I think is it safe to say that, committee feels like fundraising could occur and this money should be used for
offsetting taxes. Great.
Now, is this where we make a motion to reconsider any of the town warrant articles?
Yes, I believe so. And we also have,
warrant
school articles that we
to go
voted
back
on
to.
too, so they're all,
Since we're beating up the town
Yep.
first.
you could make a motion.
I'd like to motion that we go back, see if anybody wants to go back and redo look at any of the warrant articles. However you say that, Tom.
Well, why don't you pick one particularly?
I don't have a problem with any of them, but
Okay. Well,
I
I'll-
make a motion
ahead.
to revisit Article 5.
On the town?
on the town, that's the park,
we had a
park
4-4
director
vote last
stipend,
time.
we tied on that. That's a good place to start, because we had a draw. So, you made the motion, I'll second. And discussion on Article 4, Article 5, the park director stipend.
Well,
to be-
first, the motion is to determine if we're going to reconsider it.
right, first you have to vote on
Revisit.
determining whether we wanna
Correct.
do
All
this.
right, thank you. All right, anybody have any discussion on that? All those in favor of reconsidering Article 5, raise your hand. 6. All those opposed? 3? Abstain?
I didn't vote, but
You want to abstain, or?
I'll abstain.
All right, so
So
that
we're-
motion passes, we can reconsider it. So now, I'll make the motion that the committee recommend Article 5, the park director's stipend.
Second,
Second? Okay, discussion.
I'm not for this. I think a lot of this has to do with, with kids and football fields and baseball fields and soccer fields, and I think this is more something that people who are involved with it, like parents, should be stepping up and doing. I don't see that the whole town should be paying for this. We're already paying for the school.
So they do put in a lot of hours for the effort that they pay. The stipend has not increased since 8 to 10 years. And it kind of opens the door for other stipends to be considered for reevaluating what they're paid.
The position is currently vacant.
Getting ready to advertise for it.
They're advertising, right?
With the new, whatever new job description. Revised job description, about to be advertised. My comment the other night was, until we know that we're gonna have trouble hiring it at the old rate, let it ride. Because it is, I'm not sure what the new job description is. It seems rather,
Nebulous.
yeah, but it is, there's more to do there, but historically, it's been somebody who's interested in maybe the youth or a town, parks and rec program, and they get a stipend like the selectmen do. And the selectmen are here every Monday night, and they, put in a lot of time.
And they make what,
Well, I don't know, I don't even know what it
Naomi,
is,
what
whether
does
it's
Board of
3 or
Selectmen
5,
make?
or what is it?
With 4,000,
So it's 3,000 apiece?
3,000 each?
Yeah,
I think the chair gets more,
I thought you said 15,000 for,
15,000 amongst them all.
okay.
so compared
3
to
to
the
4.
Board of Selectmen,
4.
they're asking for way more, so that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I just said if you can't, if somebody doesn't wanna do that new job the way it's described, and you have trouble hiring into it, that would then lead me to believe they need to get paid more in order to fill the position. Till we run into that situation, try it with 5.
Yeah, the comments were, before increasing this, the committee would like to consider, this was sort of the minority opinion at the time against this, consider how the current amount compares to other stipend positions in the town as well as to other towns. Position is vacant. Everybody else mentioned all the other points. This is not included in the pay raise for non-union town employees. This is a stipend, it's not a salary. And we deadlocked 4-4 the last time, so. If we deadlock again, then it'll go on the blurb as a no recommendation. The committee could not come up with a consensus of agreement for recommendation, so,
So, mistrial.
mistrial.
Tom?
Yes.
So if it's currently vacant and they pay the stipend of $5,000, doesn't that indicate that at 5,000 we can't get somebody to do the job?
Not
Not
necessarily.
necessarily, but it could be, yeah. Could be nobody's interested no matter what. I mean, 7,000 could entice somebody.
I mean, if you're a parent and you're really involved with your kids, and this is a big hot topic with you and your family, you would think you would step up and you would wanna do something voluntarily because it's for your child. That's generally how Little League works and Pop Warner football and all those things.
Chase Park's a big project.
Chase Park too, yeah.
You got all the oversight of Chase Park.
Yeah,
Hiring and supplies,
Employees.
yeah.
it's more than just what your kid plays at.
For what it's worth, the budget, the proposed budget is $73,104 for the Parks and Rec Commission. Of that, the big spends are hourly wages, almost $40,000, to part-time director for $5,000, outside services for $5,000, and water safety, recreation for $3,000. Those are some of the bigger items. Whether or not we have the ability to spend less in some areas and transfer it to the director, I don't know.
That was when they would have had using the.
And this would be rolled into the budget, into the operating budget going forward.
40,000 actually for the Chase Park. And the director, and the supervisor of Chase Park and the manager.
So the cost of this is $0.001, 50 cents on the,
Charge of all facilities being Carrington, Isley, Bolton, Chancellor, Stevens Park, and Bennington.
any other thoughts? Comments?
Vote.
All those in favor of of the committee recommending Article 5 for the park director stipend, increase, raise your hand. One. All those opposed?
I tried.
Abstain? 190. Okay. I will make a motion to not recommend that the committee not recommend Article 5 for the park
Second.
director stipend. Lori, second. All those in favor of not recommending Article 5?
I'll concede.
You concede. All those opposed? Abstain? 10-0, unanimous to not recommend Article 5. So that was... Okay. Are there any,
Were there any other 4-4s?
On
uh,
schools.
just a
No,
school,
I mean, in the
in the town?
I
No.
don't think so. Article 8 was close, we had a
3-5,
3-5.
3-5, yeah.
Let's see.
That's for the police Heart Start and Wellness Program?
Yep.
I make a motion to revisit Article 8.
second it?
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor of reconsidering our recommendation on Article 8, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. All those opposed to reconsidering? 6. The motion does not carry, so our vote of 3-5-0 will stand to not recommend Article 8.
Tom,
What was
can
the
you
vo-
tell us what the total tax impact of what we've done is for the town?
Before you get that, what was the vote on that last one,
3-5, oh, this just now?
just now?
4-6-0.
Okay.
Neil, I need a minute to do that. I haven't been updating the spreadsheet live to do the calculation. I've been
Do
making,
you want us to read off the articles for you?
yeah, all I need is a yes or no on whether we, and then we can do that. So that would help if somebody read it. Actually, I don't have them in the right order, so could you just tell me the name, the
So we
title?
have the
Apologize.
fire truck was a yes.
Fire engine, yep,
The town budget was a yes.
right, got it.
The salaries,
That's the non-union,
7,000 for the
non-union.
non-union, yep,
right, that was a
pay
yes,
raise, correct.
okay.
And then we had the Parks
Park.
Recreations was a not
Okay.
recommend.
Yeah, I'm gonna change that from an NA to, oops,
And then we have the police detective was a no.
stipend, okay, I got that.
And, detective was
Yep.
a no.
Yep.
We have the, oh, sorry, I went back to Article 2. The next one is the transfer station, 50% to 100% was a no.
Correct, got it,
The wellness check was a no.
got it,
The highway truck, 10-wheeler was a no.
got it,
The 84,000 for the police cruiser is a yes.
yep,
Then we have the community revolving fund, for training was a yes.
what article was that?
Article 11,
Yeah, the fire CPR fund.
Oh, that was for the fund, right?
Yeah.
correct.
For their fund, hang on 1 second. CPR fund was a yes, okay, yep,
And then we have
tax
the, town reconstruction capital was
road reconstruction,
correct,
okay,
was a yes.
got it,
And then we have CPR was a yes.
that was
So
the
Lucas devices.
Lucas device was a yes, okay, that one I
Correct.
gotta change.
And then we have the, roadside mower was a no.
Yep,
The tasers was a no.
yep,
We have the five bay carport, was a no.
right,
We have the scale as a no.
right,
Body worn cameras, a yes. Cemetery, yes.
Yep.
Forester, yes. And the, $10,000 for retirement was a yes. 11,000 for fireworks was no.
okay. The Lucas device, what was the tax impact on that one? I wanna make sure I got that right.
0.
It was 0, alright, didn't change the rate when I changed it to a yes, so that's
I
good.
think it was .004.
It's 0 here.
It's 0 here, it was coming out of her vehicle fund.
Okay.
Yep.
That's
You're
correct.
thinking of the other one. I was thinking of that too. That's why I wanted to double check. All right, so I have a tax rate increase of 9.25.
No, what's the total
Oh, just for the town?
for the town, what are we
sorry.
recommending?
Let me just add that up. Not including the county and statewide property tax. This is $4.29
Okay,
increase.
and that's the total for the town.
That's a total for the town.
And if all passed, what was it?
If they all passed,
Yeah.
Including the schools,
No.
Or just the
only-
town?
only
Separate,
town.
just the warrant article.
All the warrant articles for the town, do you have that?
yeah, that's what the $4, just the warrant articles without the budget?
No, budget two, everything.
That's
for
what
the town.
$4.29 is, everything.
No, that's,
No.
but
That's for the-
that's what, with our recommendations, right?
I'm sorry.
I think Neil's asking if everything were
If
to pass.
everything passed, I'm sorry, been a long day. My
Yeah,
No, no
apologies.
problem.
If everything passed and everything failed, what would that be? Just remind us,
Okay. For just the town,
just the
'cause
town.
I have everything with the schools too, so I have to just, if everything passes, it's $475. If everything fails, it's $3.72. That's just for the default budget. And our recommendations is 4.29.
And that's with the town and the warrant articles, correct?
Town and warrant, budget and warrant articles for just the town. So that's a difference of,
We came in about half.
So, our proposal is a 15.3% increase in the town tax rate,
That's too much.
429 over 372.
yeah, not over the current one, but, yeah, no, it would be the current one. Default budget by itself, nothing else passes.
That's nuts.
Yeah, the cruiser is in there, the road reconstruction is the biggest one, it's 28 cents. Cruiser is the next one, and tied with the non-union raises, both of those were a nickel. And then unfunded retirement and body worn cameras were both a penny. Yeah.
Neil, how much would we have to reduce to get down to like a 10%?
Yeah, that's, 409 would give us a 10% increase.
For the town.
So we need to lose 20 cents.
You could, road reconstruction by itself would do more than that. And, everything else that's left that we said yes to does not add up to 20, it adds up to 12 cents. So,
Not a lot of choices.
no,
We have never not recommended road reconstruction.
no.
I think they need to not be so grabby.
So basically, you have to cut 20 cents
Mm-hmm.
to get 15% down to 10%.
Correct.
Our recommendation overall is 9.25%, knowing that, including the schools,
Oh,
just the bigger picture, 9.25%, knowing that that is usually on the high end, it comes in a little bit lower than that, so we're looking at,
After last year, we need to cut this down.
but you recognize that if we have 9% increases for 8 years,
yeah,
your taxes double.
Yeah.
9% is a huge number.
Well,
It'd be
this-
nice if I could make 9% on all of my investments.
I mean, the schools in the
Double every 8 years.
town need to ramp it down.
well, the schools are,
Tom, if you took
78%
road
of that.
reconstruction and dropped it by the 50,000 they added, where would that put it? Just out of curiosity.
if you took 50,000,
Is that what they added this year?
I think it went up by 50, yeah. So, yeah, if we drop the portion from taxation down 50,000, change that, let me just save the original number here. Drops it down to 24 cents.
If the road reconstruction were knocked down by 50%, that would save us 3.8 cents in taxes.
24 cents or
Am I
28
missing
cents.
something here?
4 cents.
Our recommendations
Three.
on all the town
Just
articles,
town.
$4.29, right?
That's what Tom said.
Our tax bill last year was $4.05.
Yeah, but
Right.
remember,
Well-
that's because the selectmen put some money into it.
Okay, what other number am I supposed to use?
Well,
This is not including the revenues that'll come later in the year, that will knock that down.
you're right, Bill.
Well, I'm just saying,
Beating
I'm
ourselves
just saying,
up.
yeah, but I'm just saying that if you, I take the bottom line last year
Just apples
was
to
405, it's 429 at our recommendation. That's a 24-cent difference, which is like 5.some percent.
24, what was the
Look, ours is 429, our tax bill that we got in the mail was 405. That's 24 cents difference. 24 cents over 405 is about 5-some percent, 5.9%.
5.9, yeah.
And that includes the schools, right, Bill?
No,
No.
no, 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 not,
No, no.
not touch schools. Forget schools,
So-
that's a whole nother animal.
What Bill is saying is that, compared to our current tax rate,
Rate,
the actual tax rate,
yeah,
we're talking about a 6% increase,
Yeah.
5.9% increase.
and
And the numbers that I gave you before assumed that no additional money was going to come in at the end of the year. Bill's number says, in fact, there is money that came in.
I'm going by assuming, okay, year to year, let's say we got the same thing we got last year, or whatever. Revenues,
reasonable assumption.
revenues are projected very, very conservative, if you look at the revenue sheet.
No,
So,
and there's they don't even try to project what the selectmen are going to throw
yeah,
in.
so I'm just saying that for lack of a better number, I use what the real number was last year on our tax bill, saying year to year, that's the number we go to, and compare to what we're recommending, that's a 5.9% increase on the town side. We're not in double digits. That's,
No, you're absolutely right, and one of the problems we've always been faced with is the fact that we don't know
We don't
what
know.
the revenue picture is, and that really throws everything we do off. Some of the revenue picture is stuff that we're projecting conservatively, like how much we'll get in from the town clerk's office. And others, it really depends on the selectmen, and we've never been able to.
I'm just saying, year to year, we'll assume that's
Yep.
that's
Perfectly valid way of doing something. It makes the 15 point, whatever.
makes it look better.
Makes it more palatable.
Would-
And maybe we say that.
Well,
Maybe we say that in our blurb, look, this is an absolute increase of 15.9%. But,
I don't think I even put that out there.
Well, it's in the, there's one page where we have the, overall tax rate calculated by us, minus the county and the state education. And we did make comments about that, and I think it's that little grid that we put in the end,
Yeah.
the roll-up comparison. And I think we did say that this does not account for, this excludes the county and the state education tax, and it does not consider revenues which are not known yet. It's a worst-case number.
and because we
Should've
know
said that.
certain revenues are fixed, like the school loss of, what, $600,000. We've got some absolute numbers on the revenue side, and some unknowns. So what you're saying, Bill, is you're comfortable leaving things the way they are? And that's the implication of what you're saying.
Yeah, we did have some detail on that last year. We did explain it in the
Yeah.
blurb, so.
So what's the last year number, the comparative number that would go into our table? Is that what, that's not the number, that's not the 405, that's on the actual tax bill.
On our recommendation, you talking about the town or overall?
The town,
what's the comparison number from the year before in the town in our table?
Well, we recommended 393, but, we didn't recommend the school contract, so, our recommendation came lower, but if everything passed, it was gonna be 434, but that didn't happen either, so, we ended up,
What number did we use for the town?
for our recommendation,
Yeah.
it was $3.93
Last year.
last year. But we didn't recommend the school contract, which passed, and added 70 cents.
Okay, we did use 393, okay.
But the rate came in at 405, right?
Yeah,
Yep. So we don't have a apples to apples necessarily, but. I mean, I can go to last year's spreadsheet and say, yes, we approve the teacher contract, and see what that looks like compared to, well, no, the teacher contract's separate. I can see, actually, I can see basically what we said for the town. Cause I think every town article went along our recommendation last year. The only thing that didn't go again on our recommendation was the teacher contract.
Yep.
Everything went in line with our, recommendation. So let me just see what, I add up the town from last year.
Well, I think that may already be done for this one.
You got it there? Oh, Beth had it in the,
Isn't this what you're looking for?
yeah, that bottom part.
This includes the town budget last
we
year
use
for all
that,
the warrant articles.
there as a comparison.
Has that
And that
changed?
goes up here, and that's the starting
Uh,
point, the budget.
Yeah, but I'm looking for what the
Last
what
year,
the
we put in
tax
our-
rate would
we
have
said the
been based on
comparison
our
of the
recommendations.
2023 tax rate was what was on the tax bill the year before.
which I guess
376, 376.
would be the same, right, Neil, because everything passed along our recommendations?
Well, this doesn't include revenue. This is only expenditures.
No, and that's what I want too, right?
Can I just say one other thing here?
Yeah.
Before we get, I go back now 2 years ago, and I look at our table. The 2024 estimated tax rate under town, and you go down to the bottom, and it says 2023 tax rate. For comparative purposes, is $3.76. Okay? I go to my tax bill for 2023, $3.76. That number on the tax bill is the one we used for comparison purposes for the town rate. Last year, 405. The number at the bottom of the table for 2024 tax rate should be 405 that we compared to.
Yeah,
It's 24 cents difference.
Right,
5.9%.
correct.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I think what I was trying to figure out was, based on our recommendation minus revenue, how did it come out?
Oh.
You know,
yeah.
we were at 435, and it came in at 405. Right? Everything we recommended last year cost $4.35, and that's in the back of the, right, that was the number that was in that table, right? No, that was 393.
Bill,
I just can't remember right now.
the fourth, what is it?
429 there.
I'm just trying to be,
With our
I'm just trying to look at how we've done it other years and be consistent with it.
Right.
Right, but the 429 obviously does not include revenue. Right. That 429 is not going to happen. It's going to be lower. No matter what we put in that number, whether it's all pass, all fail, or the finance committee recommendations, the reality is that number will be reduced because there will be some money offset from the fund surplus.
Yeah.
Right,
So,
that's a high number, the highest number it could be.
So,
indeed,
so at worst, it might even be better than 5.9.
Could be 3%.
It could be negative, conceivably.
Could, it's
On
possible.
the town side, not the whole thing, on the town side,
Yeah.
if in fact the selectmen are able to throw a significant amount against the tax rate from fund surplus. I think what you're telling us is don't fret.
Right.
Well, I'm just trying to be consistent with how we develop the
Yeah.
table each,
Yeah.
from year to year to year. And, you know, to me, it's 405 versus 429. 405 is the number that goes in the bottom left on the table that we put out.
So, here's the question I have though. Our recommendations, which the voters went, I believe, 100% with, came to 393 on our sheet last
Yes,
year.
it did.
Not including revenues, right? That's just,
Yep.
that's full cost for all these articles.
Yeah. on
But the town
side.
rate came in 405? Higher? What am I missing?
What I'm saying, the 405, yeah, the 405 is what,
Is the actual tax rate.
it's the actual tax rate.
Yeah.
That's all of
After
this-
revenues,
For the town?
For the town.
Spending minus all the revenue.
Yep.
Was 405 had to be raised by taxes. And that includes whatever revenue the selectmen put in, whatever revenue we got from town clerk's office, whatever revenue we got from whatever source.
So, how is it that, I just need help here, how is it that our recommendation came in at $3.93, and the voters went along the lines, for the town items, they went along our recommendation 100%? So, wouldn't it be less than
except
393?
for the teacher contract.
No, this is just